following is a conversation I had with two consistent guests on the podcast, Trevor Fulbright and Shimmy Hacker. We decided this week to take a break from our normal Q&A and ramblings and decided to ramble about something else. This week we are talking about our training splits, specific things that are working really well with our training currently, and things we are experimenting with. We discuss things such as AM/PM sessions, warm-up sets, specific techniques for exercise variation, and many other topics. If you like this topic and would like to see it as a more regular segment on the podcast, please leave a comment. If you'd like to see any guests on the podcast, we are looking to get some more people on as a group and interview and have some more roundtables. So any suggestions you have for potential guests, please leave them in the comments below. Share the podcast and please leave us a review on your favorite listening platform. We still have 0 reviews on the podcast, and we would really appreciate it if you like the podcast or you hate it to leave us a review. Any feedback is appreciated because we want to improve the podcast and we want to continue to bring you value in the new year. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome, everybody. We're back. It's the three amigos. It's the STD. That's Shim, Trevor, and Dylan. This is a new segment that we're doing. So we're not doing a typical Q&A. We've had many of those. I'm sure you're bored of those. We're sure bored of your stupid ass questions. Just kidding. They're great. Keep asking them. We're going to be calling this Reflections and Rambles. If you guys are listening, I'm sorry that you didn't see my hands, but I did things with my hands where all three of us are essentially just going to be talking about our training, where we're at. We're going to be responding to each other's training styles and seeing what's going on. Maybe giving some nuggets, maybe not, maybe just making some jokes here and there. And hopefully you get some information out of this. We truthfully don't know where exactly this is going, but we also do know where it's going. So happy to have you guys with us.
That was
Thank
good,
you for
Shimmy.
taking over that intro, Shimmy. And I'd like to introduce myself. I'm the host of this podcast, but unfortunately, I'm not great at intros. So I'll let my guests intro me. And then we also have Trevor Fulbright on as well. So yeah, we want to talk a little about our training, and we're just going to lead off with Trevor talking about your training, where you're at, what's going on.
Yeah. So I'm currently dieting. Well, actually, I ended the cut early because I got sick last week, and like 5 days of not eating, I figure is like 3 weeks worth of a deficit. So I just ended the diet, but training is still finishing up. Obviously, if anyone follows me on Instagram, I post my training on Instagram all the time. I think I'm sure you guys get asked a lot, but exactly like, what is your split? And so I always just tell people like, it's a skeleton of a push-pull legs, because I'm not going to sit here and go into normally the more finer details of my training just over on Instagram, but I figured this would be a good time to go into it. So do we just want to kind of talk about like how we have our training structured, with as far as maybe frequency of different muscle groups and things like that, and we can kind of bounce off each other on why we do certain things?
You can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think when you say skeleton of a push-pull legs, like, well, how do you even, like, where do you start when you're, you start with push-pull legs, and then where do you go from there, I guess?
Yeah. So I have mine set up in a way where it's push, legs, pull. And this is something a lot of people I don't think about, but it's worth thinking about. I do think it's worth thinking about, though. When you set your sessions up, you need to look at where your priorities are. And my chest is my weak point. So chest is my first session of the week. And that's very purposeful. It's not just by accident I threw it there, because I want to be able to train my chest when I'm the freshest. So the way I structure it is push, legs, pull, push, legs, pull. That way my chest gets hit first during the week when I'm the freshest, and again, not directly after legs when I'm going to carry probably the most fatigue. And then past that, I start to break it up into like I train back 3 times a week. So technically, that first day ends up being an upper body day, and then legs and back and regular push, legs back.
How many
It's
sets
kind of
a
how
week?
it breaks
How many
up.
sets a week are you training your back? Being you have 3 times a week frequency.
So are you just as a whole, not breaking down upper back, lats, anything like that?
Correct.
Well, I can actually tell you. I literally have my sheets pulled up, so give me a second. I can tell you.
Mhm.
16 sets a week.
16 sets. And how is that biased? Is it major, medium, and minor focus, or is it equally split? Well, 5, 5, and 6, I guess.
So not entire, like my first day is it's all done at the end of the session, and it's less volume. That's the least volume of the week.
Mhm.
Then I have an emphasis vertical day and an emphasis horizontal day, where the volume gets kind of biased to one or the other of those. My vertical day actually has the highest volume of all days, where it's got 7 sets.
Mhm.
And that's just because I find that in general that needs more, because like if you think about it, your upper back is getting a lot more spillover work from other things.
Mhm.
So in general, I find I just don't need as much of that as I do more vertical lat emphasis, lower trap emphasis stuff, you know?
Mhm. Well, your back is also one of your stronger body parts. I would say your
Yeah.
back is your strongest body part outside of your quads.
Yeah, I would probably agree.
That's also why you're also training at 16 sets a week. And I don't mean 16 sets a week to say that's not a lot, but I'm sure relative to some other things that you have, it's not that much.
Actually, you'd be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious for, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to, before we get off that subject of the frequency, how do you, so obviously you have one of those days of back training right before, or no, it's push legs pull. So you
Mhm.
have rest. So you have your first day legs, and then you do your first pulling.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how you get sort of the
Primary
frequency.
pull.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was looking at my split, and I want to do this as well, but I almost feel like inevitably I'd end up running 2 of the days back to back. So
Yeah.
I was just curious.
It just depends on how you split it up. So, and this might be like a on maybe a more glute and hamstring emphasis day. If you're trying to train back 3 times a week, maybe you put some chest supported rowing there.
That makes sense.
You know, because and that's what I'm talking about with the more of the upper back getting some spillover training. If you're doing stiff-legged deadlifts, it's not direct per se, because you're not actively dynamically training the upper back, but it's still going to hit. Your erectors are still getting hit, so
Sure.
you can kind of fold it in there. And
Yeah.
that's how when I'm trying to explain to people how we look at setting up a program, those are some of the things I'm trying to get them to think about.
Yeah,
Is
that's smart.
not only direct, because you're just like anyone can put a program together, but if you don't understand how things intertwine, that's multiple times.
Dylan, you train back 3 times a week too?
Hold on. I train it twice right now.
His internet's out.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
I train back
You train twice a week?
Yeah.
Trevor, is back the only thing you train 3 times a week or no?
No, like big muscle groups, yes.
Well,
But
in general.
I train delts 4 times a week and biceps 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Calves,
think
no.
Calves just twice a week, except for I haven't done calves this mesocycle because I've just been too lazy to bother.
And abs you don't have in forearms.
Abs, I don't. When I'm cutting, I actually don't train abs really at all. When I'm massing, I'll actually train them a little bit.
You say
Mhm.
calves, you don't train at all when you're
No,
cutting?
abs.
Abs,
I'm not training calves right now because I've just been too lazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Abs, I don't bother training when I'm
Yeah.
cutting. Kind of like I don't bother training traps when I'm cutting either.
Mm,
Whereas I might do some
That makes
direct
sense.
in a mass phase.
Yeah.
mm. Dylan, is there anything that you train 3 times a week or no? Or more?
More so biceps and delts. I think I both have those at 4. I want to say
You're
might
showing
be
biceps
more.
4 times a week?
Yeah.
How do you
They-
structure that volume so your elbows don't pop off?
My elbows don't bother me. Yeah, it doesn't. It's let's see. I have like my pushing day. Sorry, my pulling day. So I do have back on the front burner right now, just because I want to see what would happen if I prioritize it for a little bit. And that's why I want to.
Because you're massing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, in the context of me massing, I'm currently hypercaloric, so people know.
Right.
Yeah, so I have back on the front burner. That's why I was asking Trevor about the frequency, because I wanted to increase the frequency because I'm finding my back is recovering pretty well. So I have back first, and then on my PM session, on that first day, so my pull day, I have a bicep exercise, heavier, and then I have I think biceps the next day, and then I rest them on my legs on Wednesday, and then I think I go Friday, Saturday. I want to say this is from what I recall, and they recover just fine. I try to vary the rep ranges, and so the rep ranges, loading ranges, and if I'm using any modalities, like I also listened to Trevor in that last podcast when I was setting up this one, and I inputted so I have more length and bias, but then when I have a back to back day, it's in a different rep range, and I have a shortened bias exercise, and that worked out perfect.
Yeah.
Do you generate a pump on all 4 of those sessions?
Yeah.
You do, but no soreness.
Maybe if I have a more lengthened bias, I tend to generate a little more soreness, but I don't really get sore in those muscle groups a whole lot, to be honest.
And how long have you been training your biceps 4 times a week?
Oh, for a long time. As long as
you're accustomed to this volume.
Yeah. When I started working with Jared, he started with that, and that's what I've been rolling with. They just
obviously growth from that.
Yeah, most definitely. I think my arms have grown a fair amount for sure.
Yeah, man, I can't handle that. I can't handle 4 times a week biceps training frequency. I actually can't even handle 3 times a week biceps training frequency.
From a soreness or from a disruption in like your joints perspective, or both?
Oh,
you get sore biceps pretty easy.
For sure.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Your arms are very impressive.
Sure. So I have decent arms for a natural. So this actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I have the shitty ass lanky.
But I'll tell you something that I have found in myself. This is just a me thing. There may be anyone listening, if you guys want to try it, or maybe you're like, yeah, shit, I do agree. Okay. I have found that dropping my frequency slightly, and I've told Trevor this before. We talk about everything off air. Dropping my frequency slightly in most things and increasing the amount of juju in each session, as in the amount of volume and juju, it's the same thing, has actually found that to be better for me. So most things I actually train twice a week, because I've done 3 times a week and spread that volume throughout, and it just felt like junk volume. It felt like right when I was getting to the point where shit was about to happen, it was like, all right, we're done with that session. And now I can put a little bit more juice in there. And I like that. So for me, for biceps, I train them twice a week. Back was like this too. Back, I used to train 3 times a week and was like, I much prefer it in twice, or doing it 2 times a week, and doing, let's say, in that upward bound of, if I'm going to get to 10 sets per session or 12 sets in a session, I much prefer that than doing, let's say, 3 sets of 5 to 8 sets a session. That's a me thing though, because I've tried the other way and I didn't like it.
I think that's a very solid point. Let me ask you, how do you find you get a pump really easy with like most muscles, or do you feel like you need a few sets to really get rolling?
It really depends on the body part.
Okay, well, say like more common ones that are trained frequently. So biceps, delts, back potentially.
Yeah, I think it comes pretty quick, but the reason why I say that, it depends. And anybody here that follows me on social, and I'm sure if you do this podcast, you follow me on social, you guys know with the way that I do my reps and stuff, like the pump comes pretty immediately because the set or the reps take so fucking long.
Yeah, one set takes like 5 minutes.
Sure. So it's like by the first set, it's like, all right, I'm like, we're here to party, like we're here.
Right.
Yeah. So for most things, actually, after a couple warm-up sets, like first set, I'm in it.
Okay.
But cool, because my volume has dropped considerably.
Yeah, that's something that like I've noticed that too. I do way less volume. I made a post on Instagram about it today.
Yeah,
Where
I
I do
know.
way less volume than I used to. And I think a big part of that is just, one, there's the obvious of getting stronger, but two, just better exercise selection and better technique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I actually used to train biceps 4 to 5 times a week. And most of this year, I've trained them 3 times a week. And I think I've seen some of the best growth doing 3 times a week than when I was doing more. But when I try to do 2 sets a week, I really crash my performance drop on arm training in general. Twice a week, I can only maybe get 4, maybe 5 sets, depending on the exercise I'm doing. And so it's really hard for me to get like enough volume with 2. So by spreading it into 3, then getting to that 4 sets maybe at the end of a mesocycle, where it's about the most I can do in a single session, everything just lines up perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, if I did AM PMs, this would work even better for me
because
because
100%. Yeah.
because if anybody's listening, if you've thought about it, my sessions are long because I do a lot.
Oh,
Like, yes, my volume has dropped, but being that most things I train anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week, most things is twice. Calves, I train 3 times a week. Lateral delts, rear delts, I train 3 times a week. And abs, I'm now training 4 times a week. But everything else is twice a week. So, I'm doing 20 sets in a session.
yeah.
Like in total, right, of things, especially at the end. And this shit adds up. But I honestly, man, I prefer it. Because I think the 2 hours in the gym once, even though it's not as probably efficient as going AM PM, the time commitment, even though it's 2 hours on the front end, it's still less
Yeah. Oh,
than
100%.
when you consider the commute, the travel, the extra shower, the extra meal. Like, these things add up.
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. And people ask me all the time, like, "Oh, should I do two days?" I'm like, "No, probably not." My life happens to be that twice a day training actually fits my lifestyle better and gives me more time to be at home with my wife and my dogs, versus if I try to do once, then I'm going to have more time where I'm actually away from my wife and everything, because just the way my life is structured.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've done 8 sessions a week. And I've done it for an extended period of time. I just prefer to do 6.
Yeah, I want to comment on that because my lifestyle set up in a way in which that is also conducive, right? I live like 5-minute drive from the gym. And a lot of the time I'm either, I have a lot of my clients go to the gym. So I may be doing a consult, or there's a coffee shop nearby. So I may literally do my AM session, shower, eat, and then go to the coffee shop, get some work done, come back, and then do my PM. But on certain days it's just not ideal, and that's why I keep my 2 a days limited, right? But I can make that work, and it's not too out of the way once you're considering a commute, or you don't work in a gym or around the gym environments. Like, a lot of those things can definitely, and any other things can become barriers, right? And especially really a commute, and the 2 showers too is sometimes annoying.
Real. I mean, I could tell you, man, and this is definitely the bro in me, but it's real. Like, it's really hard to week in, week out, especially when fatigue builds up, to show up to the gym to do motherfucking incline curls, wrist curls, and calves. Like,
oh yeah,
psychologically,
it really is.
Like,
so I actually experienced, like, it's been a few years, but I was experimenting with 2 a days, 6 days a week. And I did it for probably 6 months.
Jeez.
And by the end of it, I was just like, I don't ever want to fucking train again.
Yeah.
And I think I took like 2 months where I just pulled down to maybe training 2 to 3 times a week in total. Because I had so much psychological fatigue and burnout.
Right. And you're weighing that against like the benefit of maybe training those PM sessions a little bit more fresh, right? Having some rest, having a meal in between, but it's also like psychologically, you're like, all right, I got to go back to the gym. I got to get amped up again,
Yeah. So since then, I've actually adjusted. I do 2 a days, maybe 3 times a week.
Yeah. Okay. I do too.
And that's with those times a week and the way I structure my whole training cycle, it's on days where it does work out that it fits my lifestyle better, versus just trying to force it into a day regardless of how it fits. And I'm not opposed to, like, I've had things pop up recently, meetings pop up or whatever, where, you know what, I gotta just do one session.
Same.
And it's fine, it's whatever. I don't
Dude,
sweat it.
and that's the other thing, what you just said. I mean, maybe you didn't just say it, but it just got me thinking about it. Like, if you get everything done in one session, at least you have the mind that you know that it's done. Imagine if you like a bitchin' AM session, and then life happens, or you're tired or whatever, and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna skip the PM. You skip a few PMs in a row, and the next thing you know, you're like, dude, there's whole body parts that I haven't trained in like weeks, or I've trained them at maintenance. That's a thing. It happens.
Right. I missed one session during prep, and it was because of that. It was because I went home and I was like, all right, I'm tired, I'm done. And then I didn't go back. And I was like so upset about it. But I was also like, if I was just at the gym that whole time, I probably would have done it, you know. But especially when you go home in prep, you know, you've already gone home, you start resting, you get your food in, you're like, I'm not going back to the gym.
Yeah. 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 And then when you go back, it's like, dude, you never leave. God forbid you see the same person there that you saw this morning. You're like, fuck, Groundhog Day. Like, I'm never leaving. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
this especially at night, my gym's super packed. So like, I'm definitely going to get talked to, even though it's like a short session. People are going to come in, talk to me here. I'm going to reinvite Trevor because he ditched out. Yeah. So I agree. I keep them limited for sure.
Yeah. And then what do you do socially, right? So like in that first session, it's usually the meat and potatoes. So do you choose to not extend yourself socially, but then the PM, it's easy. So you're like, oh, I could talk to people because it's an easy session. But then you're like, yeah, but I was also here earlier, so I don't want to be here as much. So I want to make it faster, but I'm only here for curls and shit. This is lame. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, because I think also as a coach, a lot of my clients are there, especially the PM, and I don't want to not talk to them, but I'm also like, you know, I got shit to do too, right? So it's like, you know, I have to balance that out, right? I've considered maybe having another gym membership to where I can go if I need to just be to myself, right?
Yeah, I think the best way to do it in real terms is to get whatever equipment you need, if you obviously have the means to do this, and just do it at home.
Yeah, I don't have at this place. I don't. Hopefully in the future I can get a place with like a yard or something.
You know, like most people, like we were talking about before this podcast started, most people, they're training what? Biceps, lateral delts, calves, abs, forearms.
Yeah.
Maybe
you could definitely make that happen. Yeah.
At home. Yeah. It's like you just need some dumbbells. Yeah, you will maybe need to buy a machine or two. But to me,
a cable and some dumbbells, dude, you're set. I think.
Not really. You're not set for calves.
No, you just need a ledge, like a step or something.
Yeah, and I guess you can put on the belt from like a weighted dip
belt. Yeah, exactly.
Stand over and do that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as opposed to getting what for calves, you know.
Buy a donkey calf raise machine.
Yeah, I guess those aren't too expensive. Well, the donkey would be expensive. A seated calf would be
just because it's rare, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. I can tell you though, man, from and I don't know where Trevor went, but
I know I sent him another night.
Yeah, so doing calves first in a leg session now before everything else has made it so easy and seamless to train calves, like it never was before.
I just started doing that this training cycle because you mentioned that before.
You're never going back. You're never.
No, I love it. I love it because I'll sometimes skip it at the end or push it into another day, which is also just not ideal.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I 100%.
But when you do them when you're fresh, right? 3 to 6 sets, anywhere in the 10 to 20 or 15 to 25 rep range with a short rest period, obviously, you're done in 10 minutes or less and it's over.
Well, you know, another thing too is the fact that it's really difficult to train. It's really difficult to go through that pain, especially if after like a leg session. I don't want to go through the pain of calves. But if I front load it, I feel way better. I can get through it a lot better. I'm not trying to get through it, like rush through it. Because if I do like a hard set of like high rep leg press or something, doing a calf, like the burn and stuff at the end of a session, you just want to go home. Like it's not For me, I like that because I'm like, all right, I got that out of the way, and I'm not going to try to skirt through it.
You're off video, by the way.
I know. I keep bumping this
Okay.
thing.
I also find that with calves, there's a very big premium on mind muscle connection. And if you're training them later in the session, I don't have the mental bandwidth or interest to really focus in on that mind muscle connection. So like this doesn't really happen to me, but I could see how it would happen where then you just end up going through the motions of rep to rep and you're not really focused on the squeeze at the top, the stretch at the bottom, the pause, the real concentration. Whereas when you get in the gym, obviously you're focused immediately and like it's just easy to do it. But
Yeah.
hey now, you hear that easy to do it? Who's doing? But after some squatting, some leg pressing, or some leg curls, by the time I get to calves, I'm like, yeah, I'll do this, but I'm not doing this. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, like, for me, I can only get about 2 sessions in right now. This is my recovery capacity. And I want to make those 2 sessions count for sure. So
How many sets are you doing in a session?
beginning of a training cycle, like 2 to 3.
For calves?
Yeah.
You're doing 6 sets a week and you're growing?
Dude, I can't progress outside of 6 sets a week.
Oh my God.
You know what I think?
They get sore for 3 days or something?
My progressions stall or start to backtrack. But
get
you know what I
sore?
think? Not really. But what I will say is that I think in part, and you can probably also have some input on why you think that I can only do 6 sets, but I think also my body weight with the amount of steps I do, it definitely limits that. Like at my body weight walking around, I think it definitely limits the amount of calf volume I can use.
How many steps do you do?
10 to 12,000.
That's not a lot. It's just
No.
normal.
Yeah.
Are you what rep range are you training in?
One day I do a little bit heavier loading range, and then so like 5 to 10, maybe 7 to 12, and then the other is like 10 to 20.
Wait a minute. You're doing calves in the 7 to 12 rep range?
Yeah.
Trevor, you here?
Yeah, I should be. Can you guys hear me?
I hear you
Yeah.
good. Yeah, you on your phone?
Yeah, my
Yeah,
storm
one of
came
us has
through.
to be ghetto. I'm done
course.
being ghetto. You have to be ghetto.
Yep. Fucking storm rolled through and killed the internet. So
Oh shit.
So Dylan, is that not weird for you to do calves in the 7 to 12 rep range? I could tell you,
oh god.
I would never.
I've done it. I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
Do you not?
Everybody here?
No, I
Yes.
hear you. Trevor said he hates it.
Yeah, I hate it.
Then he said, "Why do you hate it, Trevor?"
Why do I hate it?
Yeah,
I just don't get anything from it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with him. I get foot pain. That's what I get.
Yeah, it just kind of hurts, and I get like zero stimulus for my calf. So my calf volume has actually gone down to, or frequency and volume, to where I only do it twice a week, maybe at the most 12 sets. But I strictly do between 15 to 25 reps,
Okay.
at least for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first set. I let it fall, and my calves consistently get sore for 2 to 3 days. Progression goes up. It's been, for me, I've done that for the past probably 18 months or so, and have seen consistent calf growth over that time. Whereas
Yeah.
before I would try, for a while I continually tried maybe going 8 to 12 or 10 to 15, and just every time I tried it, it's just like no soreness, meh pumps, and my feet hurt.
Yeah, so I train my calves 3 times a week, and I have one day in the 10 to 15 rep range. And with calves, I'm very, very mindful of pauses, and I'm very I'm very intentional with my pauses. Also commiserate with the rep ranges that I use, and I'm going to expound on this. So
I
when
know
I'm
exactly
using
where
the
you're
10
going.
to 15, yeah, you do. The 10 to 15 rep range, I pause at the top and I pause at the bottom. The 12 to 20 rep range is another day that I do. I pause at the bottom, but I don't pause at the top because then the shit would just take way too long. And then I have another day in the 15 to 25 rep range where I'm just controlled, but I don't pause at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is what I found to be great for me. I'm able to get sore and I'm able to progress. Dylan, I would give this a try if you.
If you haven't, I agree. I would give it a try. And to be more precise about mine is actually similar to Shimmy's, where I have a day in the 15 to 20-ish range where I pause, like a good pause at the bottom and just a brief pause at the top. And then a day that's more 20-25 where it's just controlled both ways. Because otherwise, if you're doing like 20 to 30 reps and you're doing a pause at the top and the bottom, you're going to use like no weight.
Right.
At that point, you probably are using like way too little load.
And at that point, it's going to be literally it's long per set. Fuck that. Come on.
Yeah.
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 And this is coming from me saying, fuck that.
Pause and okay, so pause and lower rep range. But what benefit do you think that would have outside of like what I'm currently doing?
A few things. So number one, I think you'd have a better mind muscle connection. You generate more disruption. And I think that the overall movement quality would be much higher.
Mhm.
You're
I
just
also think
getting
you'd get
more
better
muscle
progression.
And that too.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a
And
shot.
that's-
I find calves are the other thing is I find calves are really, really damn hard to progress if you're
Yeah.
training in that lower rep range. Specifically if you're trying not to use your like a bounce out of the bottom, you're trying to really control it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's not like our gastroc can produce a ton of force.
Right.
It's like trying to do a lateral raise for sets of 8.
Dylan,
Yeah.
what calf variations are you using?
So, and I was going to say I did actually change it this last training cycle. I just forgot. Sorry, because this one's a little bit newer. So I am doing a donkey calf and on the belt squat machine, and I am doing what's the other variation I'm using? I think I'm using I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically like an angled seat with a foot plate here. You sit kind of like this.
calf.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that one as well. So you're still bent at your hips,
Yeah.
but it's like the foot plates over here.
Yeah, I'm here for that. I was hoping you didn't say you're doing a standing calf raise, like straight up. And
No,
down.
I cut that out. So I was doing that the first training cycle in a lower range, put in the belt squat, and I'm probably more towards like 15 and progressing.
We talked about that, right? I don't know
What?
when, but we all talked about this, right?
Yeah,
I'm doing
exactly.
spin.
Again,
That
I
doing
listened to our
calves
calls. I
completely
mean,
upright and-
yeah, I think this is like the third thing out of this call where we've talked and then I've implemented that into my training, right?
Yeah.
So I took out that standing and put in the belt squat, and yeah, it works a lot better.
Yeah, man. Anytime, if anybody listening, to reiterate, when you're training calves, there's something about pushing into something, especially where your lower back is supported, where it just feels that much better. I know Joe Bennett talks about this a decent amount. So think leg press calves, rotary calves, donkey calves, where you're not really having any axial loading and just allowing your foot to push
Yeah.
into the
Well,
implement and stretch.
And if you're doing a standing calf raise,
Or slant.
it's actually
yourself.
you're having to fight a lot to keep your hips still as the set gets hard, because you can start kind of shifting your hips forward and back and sheath the movement,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it makes a big difference. So when you have something like even just doing like leg press calf raises.
Yep. So good.
Yeah.
So
Well,
good.
one thing I wanted to throw in there, if you guys are listening, can you please, if you want to see Joe Bennett on the show, spam his Instagram account, because I sent him an email. I've sent him multiple emails to come on the show. So just spam him and say, please come on the podcast, respond to Dylan's email. Yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
Yes.
So
Uh,
what did you guys talk about when I was gone?
Oh, we were talking tons of shit about you.
I
It's
mean,
kind of
I would
embarrassing,
expect
actually.
nothing
Dylan,
less.
did you make the Silicon Valley clip yet or no?
No, I'm getting on that podcast this upcoming week. I was just doing the
Did
Eric
you
Trexler
watch
one
any of
today.
Silicon Valley yet?
No.
So after we had that conversation, I started rewatching the show for the third time. I'm about to finish season 3. It's the fucking best. It's confirmed. It's the fucking best. It's so funny.
I
Oh,
have to check it out. I was watching this last week. I was watching the Guillermo del Toro. He did a new Netflix series, and I like that a lot. The horror series.
Oh yeah, the horror anthology.
I want to see the Lamborghini movie. It just came out. I haven't seen it yet. Talks about the guy that created Lamborghini.
Oh.
Yeah.
Came to be. It looks really cool. And I also want to see Spirited because it's me. So obviously I want to see Spirited.
What's
I have no
weird?
idea what that is.
That's Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds together, and it's a
Oh,
musical.
that's gonna be funny.
And it's a
Ooh, ooh.
musical.
That's
A
gonna
musical.
be funny.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So Shimmy, what's going on with your training? What are you doing right now?
So I'm finishing the first leg of a diet. I've got about after tomorrow, I've got 2 weeks left, and then I'm going to do a maintenance. So a modified maintenance because I'm maintaining at a lower body weight with the intent of going lower. So I'm going to do a maintenance for like 4 to 5 weeks, and then probably a 10-week diet that will end up making me leaner than I've ever been, which is really cool.
Nice.
Training is going great. Ab veins came out yesterday at a little over 190 pounds, which is cool. That's never happened before. They're not like fully there like they were when I'm in the low 180s, but they're starting to poke out. And they usually don't poke out this early. So that's pretty cool. And I'm training in Charleston for the time that I'm here. So I've been using a lot of machines that I'm not accustomed to using, and using a lot of exercises that I haven't really used before. With great results, I might add. So like I've tried the lying cuff lateral raise that got popular a few years ago. I've
Yeah,
never
the
done it
crucifix
before.
ladder.
Sure. I've never done it before. It's cool. Also on the free motion, I'm trying this cross body triceps extension.
I'm using that right now, actually.
Yeah, where it's like you're almost doing an X.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a fan just because push downs are fantastic. I love them, but you can't push. I mean, you can, but if I don't need to push down forever, then I would like to have a break every so often before I bring them back in, right? For me, push downs in the 10 to 15 range are amazing. The 12 to 20 range are amazing. Giant sets with them are amazing. Like push downs, I very seldom take them out. But now for a mesocycle or two, I'm just kind of rolling with this because the cable machines here suck dick. So I had to find something else. So this one I'm rolling with. And yeah, it's always
doing
cool
straight sets?
training. Huh?
You're just doing straight sets with that?
Yeah, straight sets, 10 to 15 rep range, bottom pause, top pause. Started at 3 sets. We'll end at likely 5 sets, maybe with a drop set at the end. And that will be the progression for that one. It's great.
I'm actually using that for the same reason. Whereas I want to take push downs out. Do you think it's as good as just a straight up, like a straight bar push down or something?
No,
I don't either.
but it's good.
It's good.
It's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
But it's not like if I was hedging my bets on what's going to be better for muscle growth, I would say a regular push down.
So as a general rule, yes, but then I would say you consider the juice being worth the squeeze if you've been doing the same push down for 4 months. Whereas I could do this for a fresh month, I'd do this.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at. It's like I just want to take pull downs out for a little bit, give me a meso plus an active rest without them, so I can bring them back when I kind of get back fresh rolling after the new year.
I can also tell you, so I'm doing the same thing. When I start dieting again and I have those 2 mesocycles of dieting, I'm going to bring push downs back for sure.
Yeah.
I can also tell you that after years and years of training and doing push downs with all kinds of different attachments, there's so many attachments under the sun. And I could tell you a little easy curl bar or straight bar is the only one that I think is good. Fuck a rope. 100%. Fuck all those
Ropes
other
are
ones.
awful.
No. An underhand push down, go away. No, don't like it. And there's all these other like random weird ones with the balls on the end. The
balls are so dumb.
Yeah.
Go funnel the balls at your home. You don't need to do it at the gym. Like
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I'm definitely always like end up back at a straight bar or easy bar push down. Like I'll try something else for a little bit. I think I had like the ab machine at my gym has the like the hand in, like, you know how you put your hands in and you grab it. So I was trying that for a while.
That's very popular on social media.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't. It's like a rope push down.
I have this weird thing. Like rope push downs are super popular. Everyone loves them. For me, it's like instant shoulder or elbow pain. If I do any kind of like elbow extension with a neutral grip, immediate shoulder or elbow pain. But on top of that, I like lose all ability to produce force.
Yeah, I get that.
So I could do like a push down with like 150 pounds with a straight bar. If I go to a rope, I can barely do 50 pounds.
You think it's because it maybe biases the lateral head with your hand turned like that a little more, as opposed to like maybe here with a more pronated grip, you can get more of all three heads of the tricep involved, or
I just think it's a bad position.
Yeah, I just think it's a bad position. I think it's just not good. I don't think that like most people are leveraged really well. I don't think their triceps are leveraged well to produce as much force as they could.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so
if you think about it, at least for me, when I'm doing the rope push down, the eccentric is fine. And the first third is fine. But the moment that you're making me to do this split thing, that's when it gets weird. And it's
Yeah.
so antithetical to popular opinion because everyone goes, oh, the split at the bottom, that's where you really contract.
Yeah,
And it's
good
like,
squeeze.
I ain't squeezing shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not doing anything. This feels awful.
Nothing's happening down there. Makes me
Mhm.
think of
Yeah.
Talladega Nights when he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. That's
Love
what I think
it.
of at the bottom of triceps extension.
Love it. He's like whispering in the microphone. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Oh my God.
Well, now we know what the short for this video is going to be.
Yeah, there we go.
So good. So good. Yeah. So I've also had access to the Nautilus hack squat at this gym. And the Nautilus hack squat has come into favor because obviously Mike just got it. So here we go. It's not good. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not good. Jorge had it at his gym in Crunch. And I remember before Jorge and I trained together, that's Jorge Breitz on Instagram. You guys can go and look him up. Good guy. Before he came to train with me, he was doing hack squats on his Instagram and I was seeing it with like 3 plates or like 3.5 plates. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Cause like that's close to what I do on the Cybex hack squat that I have back at home. So I was like, all right, cool. He came to train with me. He had 2 plates, a 5 and a 2.5, and he got fucking pinned at 8 reps. And I was like, all right. So then I went to this Cybex hack squad, this Nautilus hack squad here, and I just put the weights on that I had from my previous. I was like, this is just not that bad. So I was telling Trevor this. It might be an idea when someone is dieting to pick machines that are light, where you can put a lot of weight on each side, not to necessarily show off, but to make your ego feel better when you are essentially a little bit weaker because you are dieting. It's sort of a mental game with yourself. No changing of technique or anything, but if you can pick something where you can put some weights on, you won't feel as shitty about yourself when you're dieting.
Hey, you'll also burn more calories with NEAT when you have to unload all that shit.
I'm gonna say that, yeah. Yeah. So
what I was just gonna ask what are good hack squats? Because I feel like I've had a few, but the elite one is all right, I feel like, but I don't have a lot to compare it to because I have elite FTS at my gym.
yeah, so I like the Cybex hack squat with yoga blocks for super range of motion.
Cybex is the like really heavy feeling.
Yeah, it's
one, right?
heavy as shit.
Yeah, I had one of
but
those.
the older one, because the newer one that Charlie's using, I don't think it's that heavy. I don't know. I haven't used it.
It's not as heavy.
Correct. That's what I hear. I haven't used it.
It's heavy, but it's not as heavy.
So the Nautilus, the Cybex hack squat is great. The Arsenal hack squat is great. The Nebula hack squat, which is basically the Arsenal hack squat, is also great. There's an old one that I used to use at a gym that closed down by me, made by Streamline. I've never seen it before since I
never heard that shit.
It's very deep. I never had to use even yoga blocks, and I have pretty good mobility. That was very good. Those are my faves for hack squats. I've never used the Atlantis one. I've never, And hammer strength, obviously, it's going to be bad because it's hammer.
Shimmy and I actually literally had this conversation. We were talking about it. Hammer strength hack squats are trash. Let's just throw that out there.
Hammer strength. Everything that hammer strength makes is bad.
Most of it's garbage. Yeah,
I'm not really a hammer strength fan either.
The hammer strength plate loaded pullover is good.
It
if
is
anyone has used it, have you used it?
I like that one. I have one at my gym right now. Yep. I got so sore the first time I used it.
Bar that you can really grip nice.
Yeah, very good.
Good stretch. Good stretch too.
I hate like all their back equipment and most of their chest equipment. But anyway, for me, I think we ranked our favorite hack squats. My favorite is actually the V2 Atlantis hack squat, and it's specifically that one. So I've been having to kind of bounce around gyms this week. So I went to a different one that has the V1 this week and used like 130 more pounds and matched reps with a higher reps in reserve. And I was just like, I was kind of taking it easy because I was back from being sick and all that. But I was like, well, that's a thing.
Yeah.
But the V2 Atlantis hack squat, and then the Cybex, definitely the older version. The newer one's fine, but the older one is my preferred. And like that, I would say the Nebula, and I hesitate to even say the Arsenal, just because Arsenal's hack squats have a lot of problems.
In terms of what?
The bearings break a lot.
Yeah, I remember
So
I remember Mike saying that.
and it's a white who've had the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
So that blows. If you never the old school flex fitness ones,
That's the one that Jared likes a lot, right?
I really don't know. They're not bad. They're not amazing, but they're better than average, I think.
Oh, question. Slight pivot. Pendulum squats. You guys have used the Paramount one, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Dylan, you used it?
I have Atlantis. That's the only one I've ever used.
So the Paramount pendulum squat's really, really good. It's really heavy. I really like it. But
Yeah,
you
super
guys,
heavy.
yeah, you guys haven't used it, so this question might fall on deaf ears. There are some people in the fitness space that are using that Paramount pendulum squat, and they're putting a very little mini band around the back to make the ascent harder. I was gonna ask you guys your opinion. I've used it. I don't know. I want to say this is not a bad idea. I've not used it because the regular Paramount is fucking good. It's really heavy and it's good. But yeah, I was just wondering what you thought.
In my opinion, I think banding a pendulum squat is the dumbest shit ever.
Okay.
Because you're taking something that already drops off and gets lighter at the bottom and gets real fucking heavy as you get near the top or mid-range to top, and you're just exaggerating that further.
Fair enough. So you could just put more plates on the machine.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And for me, I actually, this is going to be my hot take for the podcast. I think pendulum squats kind of suck.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never get as much as I do from a good hack squat or a good leg press or a good Smith machine squat.
And you pendulum squat a lot, as in often.
Do I not anymore? I did for a while.
You were for a while every week.
Wanted it to like work because everyone talked about how good it was. And then literally just like a couple months ago, I put it in and I got through one mesocycle and I was just like, why the fuck am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
This is terrible. It's one of the few things that within a couple of mesocycles, I start getting knee pain consistently every time. The stimulus I get from it is meh, and the fatigue is out of this world.
So that part I agree with you. The fatigue is humongous. The fatigue cost of pendulum squats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like I can get a way better stimulus for less fatigue doing damn near anything else.
I want you to try the pendulum squat from Paramount.
Now I would try that one. I would always try a different one, and like because I've only actually used the Atlantis as well. And maybe it's just the way that one's designed. I actually have used the Arsenal one time.
Relatively speaking, I've heard it's very light.
It's not super light. It's pretty fucking heavy.
Have you used the Arsenal one?
Yes.
What do you think?
But only once, so it's hard to say.
Did you like the Arsenal one more than that one?
I think so.
So the Paramount one is better than the Arsenal one.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. So I would be willing to concede that if I got to try a different machine, I may have different thoughts.
Yeah.
I still think, regardless of that, I think the pendulum squat is and forces you to have more control.
I think the reason why a lot of people like it is because as soon as you unrack, you immediately feel pain. Like you
Yeah.
immediately feel the weight, right? Like you feel the heaviness. And even if you're going through a partial range of motion, like most people do, even a partial range of motion pendulum squat still feels bad.
Yeah. Which, a side note, how the fuck do you actually do a partial range of motion on a pendulum squat?
By definition, you stop halfway.
No, but I mean, like, I watch people do it, and I'm like, my knees, my patellas would
Yeah.
be in the wall.
No, same.
Dude, that's how I feel every see Blessing Awadibu do any leg thing. Okay, let's just drop some fucking names here. And Nick Gloff was the person who puts the band on the pendulum squat.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people do it. I just think it's dumb.
Yeah. So if I can weigh in, so I've thought about it, but because I my gripe with it, and this is probably a stupid gripe, but I have such a hard time gauging relative effort because of that mid range, like getting really hard. Like
Oh, yeah,
I'll do
That's-
three
That's real,
hits you
bro.
like
That's
a
super
fucking-
real.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
because I'll be like, all right, 3 RAR, and then I'll push it on the last week, and I'm like, I had
Yes.
5 more fucking reps.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
How tall? Real quick. How tall are you guys?
I'm
6
5'11",
feet.
Okay, Dylan,
5'11".
5'11". Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm 6'2", so
It's
I'm a
close
little bit
enough.
taller than both of you guys,
Yeah.
but not much. It's pretty similar. Shorter people don't experience that as much, is what I've learned.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
you can't put yoga blocks on a pendulum squat or like put a plate at the bottom. Like short people can't pendulum squat. I've put short people through it. It can't happen.
Yeah.
Too awkward.
But so like when I'm hitting a pendulum squat, that it's like from a third of the way up to finish, it's just like fucking hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I find it really difficult. Once you hit the drop off point at the bottom, I find it difficult to maintain like really good tight control with my quads.
Yeah,
Because all of a sudden, like I'm trying really hard, and then all of a sudden it just feels way lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it wigs me out.
Yeah, dude, you'd almost want to reverse band it so you can make it hard at the bottom.
Yeah,
Harder.
exactly. That I think it's such an extreme where it's like this is, and so my gym has that, and I know Shimmy, I think you've done it or a knockoff, the Rogers power squat.
Yeah, the gym at
Yeah, I've one.
Redcon has it, but it just doesn't feel right. The one.
I think if you send me a video, I could help you out on that because a lot of people said that, and then I watched them do it.
I'm not training at Redcon anymore.
I'm just saying if you ever try it again, because I've seen a lot of people do it, and everyone makes the same mistakes. But with that one, it's similar to a piece of prime machine where it has the different loading pegs.
Yeah.
And so when I'm squatting with it, I load everything to where it's heavy at the bottom.
Yeah.
And it will wreck my quads. And it's like, it is super fucking heavy at the bottom. But as you're coming up, it feels lighter. And the fatigue of it is like, I can do 2 sets of that and my quads are crushed, but I don't feel that bad. Whereas if I do 2 sets of pendulum squats, I feel absolutely awful, but my quads feel meh.
Can we have just a slight shift in affirmation real quick based on what you just said? For anybody listening, I mean, you guys can say otherwise, but once you train with a full range of motion with leg stuff and you train with good effort, dude, if your volume is not cut in half from whatever it used to be, I don't know what you're doing. My leg volume, especially for quads, guys, used to be 20, 25 sets. Now, maybe it's 15, 16 at the top, maybe. Yeah. And I'm dying.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I don't think I can manage over 12 anymore.
Yeah.
That's the top end.
Granted, like I know Dylan, a lot of people that watch your podcast that we're preaching to the choir here. Everybody's pretty inoculated to these ideas. I get that. But if
Yeah.
you're not, and you're the leg extension, lunge, Smith machine squat, leg curl, stiff legged deadlift, like induction guy, person listening, if that's you, dude, fix your technique and fix your effort, because there's a
Yeah.
lot more.
You know, there is to a certain extent a level of effort you can make up for with volume, but eventually you're just doing a bunch of junk volume.
Yeah, I mean, I think that once again, like when you're doing it right, you just can't. And the easiest example of this is to put somebody that's not used to it through a deficit deadlift session in the 6 to 10 rep range. It's the easiest way to do it, because if you make someone do 3 or 4, the workout will likely not continue
Yeah,
after,
it's
or the
over.
workout will be a total shell of what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, or you have to finish with leg extension and abductor machine, because that's
Right.
all you can do.
And so cue that on a much bigger level. Anytime you train legs, that's not exactly the feeling, but it's close.
Yeah,
Yeah. My leg sessions, even at low volumes, are daunting. Like when I
No,
do them, I
100%.
have to I still have to be like psych myself up for it.
Like it take my 6 sets.
Yeah.
Takes me an hour and 15 minutes. And a part of that is because I finish a set and I lay on the fucking ground
Same.
and wait for my soul to return to my body.
Same. I'm laying on the ground because of the lower back pump. I don't actually feel like my soul's lost. Just my lower back is pumped up, and I'm like, my lower back will recover faster if I lay.
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
if I sit. So it's actually a tactical move on my part.
That actually is a thing. You could do a plank and it would recover even quicker.
I always think to myself, I mean, I would never do it, but I was like, I know that when you take drugs, the lower back pump is absolutely insane. And my lower back pump is already like pretty decent as a natural. So I'm like, if I wonder if I was stronger and I was on drugs, how my lower back, like how it would be. And I guess my volume would just be so low.
Yeah, you couldn't train.
My volume would just be so low.
Yeah, you
As
do
a-
like one set of legs.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
as an enhanced person, sorry. As an enhanced person, I think when I started managing fluid retention, I got way less low back pumps. I almost never get them now, and it's also exercise selection.
Yeah,
But
I get them some, but it's not bad.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not
it's the problem
debilitating.
is people take a bunch of oral steroids and they get a bunch of fluid retention and their blood pressure goes through the roof, and that's when they get those crazy back pumps.
Yeah, they also eat like a shit ton of salt and don't pay attention.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
They eat like no sodium because all they eat is like rice and hot sauce.
Yeah, I mean, what I found is obviously, right? Like I put a big premium on my eccentrics and my pauses when I'm doing my squatting
Yeah.
variations. So
Yeah.
I found that that way, most times my lower back is what gives out first, and the lower back ultimately doesn't allow me to stay in the right position, which ultimately will like punk me out.
Yeah.
So I will tell you something that I've been doing. I don't know if I recommend this to anyone, but I do it. I've actually cut my warm-up reps significantly to actually get to the shit. But maybe because my reps are slow, that I'm getting much more out of each rep in my warm-ups, so that I don't need as many warm-up reps, if that makes sense. So I might do like, for example, for my Smith machine squats, I just did 280 or 285 or something. So I did 165 for like 5. Then I did 235 for like 3 to 5. Then I did 1 rep of 280, and then I went.
That's basically how I warm up too.
Well, you would think that the first one would be a set of 10, set of 12, then maybe a set of 8, and then a set of 3. Like
now, I will
I
do
cut
like
that.
a set of 10 with like a 135.
Mhm.
Just to kind of like work things out. But I actually don't even do that. I'll do like a set of 5, but I'll do like pause and like kind of sit there and like push my hips open and stuff.
Yeah.
Stretch it out. And I'll just do like a set of 5, a set of 5, a set of 3, a single, go.
Yeah, and I mean, I've never shared this on my Instagram because I don't want people to start copying it. I'm just saying this is what I do. And this is new for like this dieting block. I've actually cut my warm-ups in half across the board for like almost everything. My warm-ups are so short, and I'm really like maybe because I've just been lifting for a long time, or maybe I'm not that strong, or maybe because I move slow that like it doesn't rear its head as much. But like however many warm-up sets I was doing before, it's cut in half. However many reps I used to do to warm up, it's cut in half. And it feels better. And I feel like I can economize on my time a lot more.
I actually think I'm curious what Dylan says. I think a lot of people over warm up.
Yeah, I used to be one of those people too.
So did I.
I do like maybe 3 to 4 warm up sets for my first exercise.
Yeah.
And then everything else, a lot of times, depending on what it is, I might not do any warm ups at all. I might do like 3 reps with the working weight just to make sure it feels right, and then set it down, take a minute, and go.
Especially if it's later in the session.
Yeah, that thing following the first exercise.
Oh yeah.
The first exercise, I'll still do a few sets to warm up for. And if I really feel like I need to warm up, I actually feel like I do better just getting on a treadmill for 5 minutes and actually like getting my body warm.
Well, I think there's a little addendum that you need to put there, and I could be wrong, but for things that you're strong at, that's probably not true, right?
Yeah, that's why I said 3 to 5.
Yeah. So when I'm like for your bent over rows, for example, or your pull downs, you're warming up. You know, like you're doing warm ups there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But like for you, you know, a lot of your upper body stuff, like it just is what it is. Like you're just not that strong. So were you really gonna warm up for 30-pound dumbbell curls? Like
no, I'll do a set of 15.
Or 50,
I'll do
50 or 55-pound flat dumbbell presses. Like
no.
Yeah, but when you're doing stiff leg deadlifts with 315, or you're squatting 285 with the SSB or something, like you're not going right to that. No way.
No, but I'm only going to do maybe 3 or 4 sets. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if I was doing those later in a session, if I squat last in a session, I do 1 warm up.
Sure, because you probably have 225 on the bar or less.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Sure.
That's the point.
Yeah.
It's like I just don't need it. I'm plenty warm. I'm just wanting to make sure that like I know what the bar feels like on my back.
And
Dylan, by the way, I incline dumbbell press the hundreds today.
You did.
Nice. I don't even know if
honestly,
I could do that.
so I'm gonna give Shimmy a little shout out here. I think if you dumbbell press for a like set of 5, you're dumb. But that was the cleanest set of 5 on a dumbbell press I've ever seen.
It wasn't a first set, by the way. That was just
okay. You just said it. You got it for 5, and I was like,
I did.
Yeah. But literally, like every time I see like people that are like, especially people they're prepping and they're like, they're gonna do sets of 5 on their incline dumbbell press. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, it's not. It's not. Respectfully, so I started doing incline dumbbell pressing in the 8 to 12 rep range. Then the 8 7 to 10 rep range. But I felt strong. So hundreds. I haven't used them in a very long time. And 5 rep probably could have gotten 6, and that's it. But yeah, I mean, we talked about this in a different context. Like I'll probably try it, you know, next week or the week after on a first set with the hundreds. And like if I get 8 or something, cool. You know, at the end of the day, I'm dieting. So it's not really gonna hurt me. Like I'm in the range, you know, 90 for 10 versus 100 for 8. It's relatively similar.
Agreed.
And like I said, I'll just clean it up with down sets. So I have the recovery capacity to do it.
Oh, and one thing I wanted to say back on the warm-up topic is I think it should be auto-regulated. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like so the problem that I had before was that I would do a standard number of warm-up sets across each muscle group. But like you said, Shimmy, you know, on things that you're a lot stronger on, you may need to do more. But then there's some things like you guys mentioned that you just don't need to do very many at all, especially later in a session. So I think just auto-regulating it and just paying attention. Like sometimes I have, you know, if you have a pre-existing injury and you need to squat, you know, maybe you need more warm-up sets for squats, right? Like pre-existing knee injury or something like that.
So unlike Trevor, I actually need warm-ups on all of my bicep curling exercises because
elbow.
When I start not so much my elbows, but like if I want to call it like my brachioradialis, like in that area, it feels shit when I start. I need to do warm-up sets. For whatever that reason is. I mean, I've torn my bicep years ago. Maybe it stems from that. I don't know. But yeah, I need one. If I go right into dumbbell curls, they're really gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Mhm.
think paying attention to that is really important instead of just saying I'm going to warm
Mhm.
up for 5 sets or whatever. And it saves you a ton
Yeah.
of time, like you mentioned. That's one thing. I was spending so much time on top of all the volume I was doing needlessly warming up.
Yep.
Yeah, that shit gets so old. Oh, one.
Yeah. So and so I know, because I know he's gonna watch this and he's gonna comment on it. Zach, my training partner, I gave him lots of shit because he was doing like he stopped so much, but he was doing like 3 warm-up sets for forearm
That's funny.
curls. And I was like, what the fuck are you
funny.
doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I was in that
And
boat
this
too.
was after doing biceps too.
So I wanted to give an update on the ab journey because we talked about this. We
Okay,
talked
yeah.
about this. Remember a couple podcasts back, if you guys are following along, that we
Yeah.
said, you know, if you're prone to ab cramping, what you do is you start at 1 set and you keep your frequency very high, train far from failure, and eventually increase it as a means of adding reps, load, or some combination of the two. So I've been steadily doing that. And I'm currently up to now training abs 4 times a week at 3 sets each. And I have no more cramping. And now my abs are back to being like pretty strong, if I do say so myself. So it comes back fast. So remember how we talked about doing deficit crunches, like putting the pad under you? So now I can do a
Yeah.
set of like 20 with a 45-pound dumbbell on my chest, paused at the bottom. So like it comes back. Like now I'm doing hanging knee raises, like with my knees to my chin for 20 reps on the first set with a pause at the bottom. Yeah. So the reason why it's 4 times a week and not 6 is because now the training is actually decently hard that I'm not able to do 3 sets 6 times a week. So it started
Yeah.
at 1 set 6 times a week, became 2 sets 6 times a week, which if you're doing the math at home, it's 12 sets. And now I've dropped the frequency, but the intensity is significantly higher. And the volume is still the same. It's still 12 sets. And that's where I'm going to keep it. I don't think I'm going to go above 12 sets. And I'll just keep increasing the effort and the intensity within the session. And that will be that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm probably the same boat as far as that volume. I will say I started doing the deficit. Well, not deficit crunches. I did the foam roller pad, not foam roller, the like memory foam kind of pad
Yoga
at my
mat.
gym on a leg raise on a decline bench. Lift the decline up so that my legs don't touch the ground. And holy shit, like I have never, like I was like dying after like 3 sets of that. Like
Did you
crazy.
cramp?
Almost. I did the first week, but now that I've done it, and
Was it scary?
It was terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was awesome though. Like I put, so the first week I did it without it, right? And then this week I was like, okay, like I want to try to improve this a little bit. I did lose some reps, but I was like, I think I can do this better to where I can get more stimulus out of it. So I increased the decline a little bit, put the pad under my low back, and it was awesome.
Yep.
It's interesting, Trevor, that you said that you don't train abs when you're dieting, but you train them when you're massing. Now I get it from a logic standpoint. You're saying
I have other reasons too that I can explain.
They're going to say I'm massing, so the calories are there, so I'm going to grow them. And then when I'm dieting, they'll just get maintained. That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, that's the part of it. You have to remember, I also do jujitsu.
Right. Forgot. Yes.
Lots of ab and jujitsu.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm the opposite. I prefer, and this is the more bro way of thinking.
You are such a bro with what you're about to say.
He knows. I train my abs when I'm dieting because they pop out more.
Yeah.
So like intuitively, I'm like, whoa, like this is cool.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. It looks cool. Your abs look better when you train them frequently. Any muscle looks better when you train it frequently because it's got a higher tone.
Exactly. So it's like if I get the double whammy of I'm getting leaner, but my abs are also popping out more. This is just like the peanut butter and jelly sandwich that I always wanted.
Yeah. So it's like if I'm gonna go somewhere that requires me to be shirtless, or I'm gonna go on a date with my wife, I'm gonna do abs first, so that my abs do look better, regardless. This is like, yeah, I mean, it's just obviously the way I'm talking is just purely vanity or whatever, but yeah, for me, I don't do them when I'm dieting, because I still get plenty of stimulus through jujitsu.
Mhm.
And I can actually overreach my abs.
Mhm.
And I've done it before, and it's not a pleasant experience.
That makes sense. And for anybody watching, we've touched on this before in a previous podcast, but similar topic of calves, like we were rambling on before. If you are going to train abs, do them first in the session also, because they'll be done in 3 minutes, and
Yeah.
you'll get on with the rest of your stuff and not have any cramping, and it won't affect you at all.
Yeah, if you're going to put, because I've done this multiple times in the past, you're gonna put abs at the end of your abs are never gonna get trained.
You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Either your
it's
abs are never gonna get trained, or you're not training legs very hard.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, I was gonna ask Shimmy about that too, because I was like, wait, why are you only training them with during your diet or whatnot?
So I actually didn't. I started training them when I was massing, and then it just perfectly
okay.
crescendoed into when I'm dieting. So
Yeah, I think I just keep it static. Both.
Do
I will say.
either of you? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say something stupid that has nothing. Well, it kind of has something to do with it. You said something about doing abs for your date. Last night I had my shirt off, and I was like at like the dinner table, and I was like, Maddie, look how fat I am. And she was like, you're not fat. And I was like, if you didn't know who I was, would you still have sex with me if I was this fat? And she's like, that's not like, you're attractive outside of having abs. I was like, no, like that's not the answer. Like, I don't have abs right now. I'm not. And she was just getting mad at me. But anyway, I was so stupid.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I my wife does the same thing to me. I'm like, I'm fat, and she's like, you're not fat. You still have like visible abs. I'm like, barely visible abs. I'm
Yeah,
fat.
exactly. She didn't give a
you
shit
guys
about how
are
muscular I am.
don't you guys know, like, you've been in this long enough. The only people that care if you're jacked are other dudes.
Yeah,
Don't you
100%.
know
No,
this
100%.
already?
Yeah,
And so I will say, and
took a while to
if
learn
she-
though.
if she ever listens to this,
Literally, you still didn't
my
learn it.
wife
Still
actually
make the mistake.
prefers when I'm lean and have abs. It has nothing to do with how I look, though. It's all to do that I am more confident. Like, I like how I look better. So I'm like
emotionally.
Yeah,
I'm more willing to like walk around shirtless, because I'm not like, I'm fat, I need to put a shirt on.
yeah. You're not complaining about how fat you are all the time.
Yeah. So
That's funny.
that's I mean, and this is just like a little thing. Like, we can get into the mentality of it real quick, but joking aside, like, literally nobody else gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to get into this fitness thing for somebody else, if you're doing it because you want to get laid, like, find a better hobby that's actually worth something.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, like, there's a minimum that I think is accurate. So,
Right.
like, you want to have a surface level of jackness and not be over fat, but that's very easy to achieve.
Oh, God, yeah.
Once you've done that, anything else is probably buddies and girls. It's for dudes mostly.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah,
you're going after like a very specific fit chick.
Yeah.
But those fit chicks are only going with pros. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're dating like the enhanced pros and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
or not, or at least the genetic elite naturals. Like,
yeah, for sure. But it's like, what, in general, though, I do think that like the average population cares a lot less as far as picking a partner about how lean and jacked you are than
especially a
most
partner.
people think. Like, if
If
you're
it's
just
just,
talking
like,
about like a
casual
one
hookup,
night
yeah.
stand shit,
Yeah.
like, okay, whatever. But
Right. A partner,
I don't know.
especially, like, you got to work on other things outside of your physique if you're like thinking that's going to be the thing that gets you a partner, especially.
yeah,
Like, work on your personality, because it's not your, like, I can tell you.
personality is going to the gym,
Yeah, exactly.
you need to stop going to the gym because you're a douchebag.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can tell. Like, I definitely have had those experiences where I was like, yeah,
Were
they
you wearing
care so much
douchebag?
about how I look. No. I mean, I don't think so. But where I just like thought that like the girl I was with or something cared so much about my physique, and then I was like, complaining about it. They just like don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah, that's right. But then she did. Then when you did your photo shoot, you're like, oh wait, shit, she does. Look at my 8-pack. You didn't know. You didn't know this was in this treasure chest, did you?
yeah. I just DM'd my exes my pictures without my photo, my shirt on.
That's right. It's like, what are you talking about? Place 5th. I'm here. What?
8th place. Come on.
That's right. 8th place out of 10 guys. I didn't finish last. I'm not the nice guy that you thought, right? Because nice guys finish last.
Yeah. I usually finish first. You know this.
Hey yo. I don't know if that's how you meant it the way you meant
That's
it. But
exactly
that
how I
was
meant
good.
it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that's exactly how he meant it. That's exactly how he meant it.
That's good. That's
all right.
good.
I should probably cut it out here. I got to get some work done, guys.
That's
All right,
right.
yeah, I gotta get to.
I see what you did there, Dylan. You went to finish.
Yes. Finish early.
Yes. Well, we didn't finish early. We were here for an hour.
No, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well,
All right, guys. Well, thanks for
we'll be
your
in Vegas
question.
next year. Yeah. We'll be in Vegas next week, so we'll do a podcast out there. I'll bring all my stuff. It'll be fun.
Yep, we'll figure
Yes.
something out.
Cool.
Yes. When are you guys going? You said Wednesday?
Wednesday. Trevor, you
what's
need
the
to message
schedule?
or I don't know what the full ROM. It's like a Thursday, Friday thing, right? Full ROM and then the
Yeah,
summit.
Forum is Thursday, RP is Friday. I'll get with you and we'll nail everything out, and I'll get with Hutin and get all the stuff together. So
cool. We'll do some workout stuff. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have
I'm
a good
excited.
night. Yeah,
yep,
it'll be fun.
later.
See ya.